Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's WE3 SmartTalk episode on the intersection of AI technology and community engagement at SMUD. Today's session will explore how SMUD leverages AI and advanced technologies to enhance community engagement and empower consumers in their energy choices. So, joining us today is Paul Lau, CEO of SMUD, and Deepak Garg, CEO and founder of SEW, to discuss how these innovations are driving both efficiency and a deeper connection to sustainable energy practices. So, with that, welcome. Good morning, Paul Lau, and good morning, Deepak. I'll pass it over to you.
Good morning, Sarah. Thank you. Good morning, Deepak.
Good morning,
Glad to
sir.
see you.
And thank you, sir. Paul, always, as you know, that I get always more excited anytime, doesn't matter, whenever I come and start talking to you, because such a great respect, not only for the industry, we all talk about it, but a person like you who have the very deep understanding of end to end, how they usually operate. And we are today at the junction where we are all eye-witnessing the fastest transformation in any industry. And I think when we talking about the fastest transformation of, it doesn't matter, we talk about energy, we talk about water, definitely the next biggest transformation is happening in AI, and how the AI is going to be impacting the industries and the people, how we work, how we perform the job day to day. Paul, I know that a lot of people all know about you, but I really would like to have you do a quick introduction, because I know that your introduction is always excite people also, what you've been doing and how much deep you are, both from industry knowledge as thought leader and the tech. So Paul, please go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Deepak. It's always a pleasure to see you. And thank you for the kind words. I think you just did try to tell me how old I am. So a little bit about myself. I'm Paul. I'm the CEO of SMUD. And SMUD is a community-owned not-for-profit utility that serves Northern California. We serve about 1.5 million people. Peak load is about 3,300 megawatts. And we are about $2.2 billion company. And I have the great fortune of working for the company since I was an intern. That was 42 years ago. And during that, during my tenure at SMUD, I had the great fortune of, being the chief customer officer, the chief technology officer, the chief power supply officer, the chief energy delivery officer, the chief operation and strategy officer. Big joke in my house is that I can't keep a job log in 5 years. So I think right now, I think for all of us who's working in the electric industry, this is in the power industry, this is extremely exciting time. I think it's because of climate change. I think our board has declared a climate emergency declaration back in 2020. And we have, I think, one of the most ambitious visions, of any utility in the US. We want to get to zero carbon by 2030. And not only do we want to give zero carbon by 2030, we also want to drastically accelerate both building and transportation electrification. Because if you talk about carbon, they're really the biggest emitters. Just for context, SMUD's power plants emits about 2 million metric tons of carbon, but the transportation and the building sector emits 6 million metric tons of carbon. So our plan is also to try to reduce 1 million metric tons of carbon from those sectors. So our plan is actually not net zero, but it's net negative about 1 million metric tons of carbon. So extremely excited about really what's kind of happening in industry and all the technology advancements. Especially the topic today about how generative AI and AI in general is really going to improve the efficiencies, of how, we're going to engage our customers, make our industry, almost every aspect of how we actually operate the grid and interact with the customer a lot more efficient. So very excited to be here. I mean, I'm always learning a lot, when I actually have conversation with you, Deepak, and you bring so much industry knowledge, not just from the US side, but really globally, which is extremely exciting, right? Because obviously, different part of the world is working on different challenges. And the more we can actually share those best practice, best learning, the better everybody will, the better everybody will get in terms of how we run our operations and really help us accelerate the transition to a clean energy future and a decarbonized economy.
Thank you, Paul. I think one thing I want to have, I think a lot of people already know, but Paul, I'm being always amazed about definitely your leadership and the prior leadership as definitely you were always a part of that. How smart been always in advance to take the next technology leap, more fast track than other utilities in a good sense. And I know that smart metering program in 2010, definitely you took it to complete a different level. And I think there's a lot of great learning during those programs, and right there for all of us being using, doesn't matter as a tech company or the industry, what the smart did. And I know that we all today at that very very important junction when the technology is in everybody's life today, and we talk about good technology and an okay technology. And I think the good technology is which is impact the people. And we internally, we as a team, as a company, how as a technology company we can be honest to leverage the people and AI in the mix for our industry. So if I know that otherwise we will be getting all over the place for reasons, and because we get excited about our industry and all the tech and the problem we will try to solve. So I will definitely, this is a very important question for a lot of people in the industry, but at the same time they would like to hear from you. How does a SMUD ensure that the technology in context of AI deploy, which is accessible and beneficial to your customers, to your employees? What do you think about that? And how you're doing that?
I think, Deepak, that's a great question, especially for a company like SMUD, who's community owned. I think, as you well know, that we have a board strategic directive for SMUD. Everything that we do, we need to have a 95% customer sat, and it's completely administered by third party. And we review the results every month to making sure we're hitting that mark. So this goes from us answering the phone to paying the bill to even tree trimming and outages. So when we design our programs and technology implementations, we really always have our community and our customer in mind, because of the fact that we know there's many, many different segments of the community and many segments of customer, and their needs are very different. So this includes, when we do tailor energy efficiency and rate programs that meet the specific needs of low-income customers and medical rate customers. This help bridge the affordability gap, right? So when new technology are rolled out, we often test them with a sampling of our customers through our pilot programs and our market research insight communities before we roll them out to the larger customer base. And this really help us understand the unique needs and challenges that different segments of a community are faced with. So I think you probably know, I think you heard me talk about it before, we usually have about 1,200 community meetings a year, and we hold public workshops and events and partner with local nonprofit organizations that who really have a closer relationship with our customers to get their feedback and input, which help us develop what we offer to our customers. Now, we also target incentives and support. For example, our virtual solar share program that is designed to bring solar energy to more households, including customer in multifamily units, which have limited financial resources and also roof spaces, right? And then I think you also heard about our sustainable community initiative and our community impact plan, where we focus on addressing the disparity in accessing to clean energy technologies for under-resourced communities and small businesses. I think we're the first utility in the US that actually, using technology, mapped out every single communities in our service territory, which is about 900 square miles. We look at their income, we look at their education, we look at, really the air quality, we look at their employment. And so we really try to understand, well, if you bring technologies and programs to those customers and those communities, what is preventing them from adopting those technologies? More importantly, benefiting from those technologies that helps them. So I think, we always try to bring together. I think we developed the terms, like Deepak, about the customer 360. Why we love SEWs, because of the fact that your platform always try to bring everything that's associated with a customer in one location, and so that we can actually use that. And we developed the Grid 360. I think that's the reasons why we have put in starting with SAP, right? I mean, also smart meters, the advanced distribution management system, also the our DERMS, distribution energy resource systems, and now we're putting in the next generation of Riva smart meters, and we're implementing the CX platform, right, from SEW, to really create that one seamless view from the grid all the way to customers, and how do you unlock what customers are putting in, what they're investing, and having those really a vertical, right, industry AI information, along with the specific utility information that we have, because we have a lot of data.
Sure.
But so you actually need to provide those insights, but you need to put it all in one place so it's not in 10 different systems. So really, this is really what we do is when we actually get those information, we really want to make sure that we integrate the customer, the meter, the grid data, so we can really have enable predictive analytics to support real-time visibility to the grid changes that is aligned with what the customer wants. And so this really informs our customer and really influence our energy usage. So really, I mean, as part of our 2030 Clean Energy Vision, we said a big chunk of it, in fact, a big part of it is partnering with the customers. And if you cannot partner with your customers, if you don't know about your customers, and if you can't know about your customers, if you don't have visibility and data that really tells you how the customer is consuming energy or what's their preferences. So this is really why, we're trying to use real-time information about their energy usage, help them make informed, decisions to reduce their consumptions, and then continue to actually just offer simple energy saving tips and incentive to customers, promoting energy conservation and potentially lowering the bills. So for us, I think it's never about the technology, right? I think we talked about it a lot before, and you heard me probably talk about in different forums. It's really about what technology can bring to benefit the customer and the community in a way that also help the utility serve them better, reduce the costs, and maintain world-class reliability. So you heard me talk about our ambitious goal of getting to zero by 2030, but we have two guardrails. One is maintaining our world-class reliability. Two is making sure our rates is affordable. So we've committed not to raise our rates more than inflation. And that we really believe AI and the efficiency that AI will bring will help us do that.
And Paul, I think for audience, I don't want to compare SMUD, but SMUD is more affordable in California. And I'm admired to what you just talked about it, how this fast speed energy transformation, where we definitely going to be doing a lot of spending. At the same time, with the spend, reliability and affordability cannot be compromised. And I think that's a really very complex equation in context of how you do the advancement and transformation in context of pretty much 100% reliability and affordability. And I think a lot of utilities for sure, Paul, is connecting with SMUD and you for sure to learn with the net zero in the mindset too, which is a third variable to make it all the assets to be more and more efficient and carbon zero. It's a really remarkable what our industry is doing. And I think thanks Paul and SMUD for leading that effort. I think a lot of people for good reasons think this can be a PowerPoint presentation, but you are making that as a reality. I think it's a very, very important for all the people to know how great is SMUD in context of the affordability for the customers and then compared to the all across the utilities. And I think I'm not trying to put anything right or wrong here, but I think everybody needs to good reason know. So I know that, Paul, anytime I talk, you always talk about, and any leadership person from the SMUD, I just always love to hear that is always about the community, is all about the SMUD customer, how we make that happen, how we ensure that we are able to educate and engage customers, in a more digital way or definitely physical interaction with, I think you already said the 1,200 times, different meeting within a year, which is really a big one. And when you see that education and empowerment's happening, you feel as we go into the future with all that is happening across the board, and I know you already maybe doing that, definitely there's a great value of your long-term goal to incorporate, the community outreach and the business, pretty much I should say the business operations / efficiency. Can you just share a little bit on that? I think people always think, leveraging AI will bring the efficiency, but maybe can have the little bit disconnectivity with the people and all, just if that will be the one single point to address.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I think that one thing that SMUD is very proud of, and all because of the fact that I think we're big enough, to really have the resources to tackle some of those major issues. But we also small enough that we're very flexible, and because of the way I know our board is very, very progressive, very forward thinking, that we can, do all those stuff and maintain one of the lowest rates in California. And we're very proud. I know our staff and our board and our community is very proud that we've been the number one in customer satisfaction from JD Powers, I think, for the last 2 decades. And we never forget our main purpose, right, is to serve our community. In fact, our board have their goal, their mission and vision is really to improve the quality of life of the Sacramento region and really to be a trusted and powerful partner for inclusive zero carbon economy. So when you talk about, how do you better serve our diverse community and meet the needs where they're at? First of all, you need to understand them and be able to communicate with them. So our website is translated into 10 plus languages. When you call us, we actually have folks that can address about 47 different languages. And so we think the first thing that you need to do is have a dialogue with the customer in a way that they want to be communicated and also meet them where they're at. And then you can start talking about, well, what are some of the tools, right? The technologies and programs that you get them to adopt. So, piloting and proving and scaling new technology and business models that use customer assets to create virtual power plants, vehicle to grid applications, and other flexible demand resources. Because remember, we said, right, we are a 3,300 megawatt, company, and we have 5 gas fire plants right now that supply about half of the energy to SMUD. So one of the things that you need to do is really start thinking about how do you educate the customers that you can use new technologies, that you can start really having what they call low flexibility. So how do you start optimizing the technology that customers putting in? Like for example, right now, right, we have about 55,000 rooftop solars and about a quarter of those actually have batteries. So we created a program called My Energy Optimizer. So that way you can sign up and we pay you incentives. So we can leverage your incentives so we can use those batteries to offer like grid services to help offset load. But then we also having, big incentives right now. For example, when we talk to our customers, the customers say, well, it's nice if we can have a battery so we can arbitrage, right? When we have solar and then use those during peak. But it also helps me with grid resiliency, when you have power outages. So you really want to start actually, when you talk about technology to customers, you really need to explain to them the stack benefits that they have, not only to themselves, but how SMUD is actually optimizing what they're putting in so they can benefit the grid also. And so this is really where we think a good chunk of it, like for example, every year our customer put in about 40 megawatts of rooftop solar. In fact, we just cracked 50,000 electric vehicles, and it's going to go to about 300,000. So you can imagine, where all the customer investment in technologies, if we're not careful, it could really strain the grid. But if you work with them, and I know we're working with SDW in terms of how do you do managed charging, so you can start really leveraging what customers putting in and use it to benefit the grid. So just imagine, I have a Tesla Model 3. I could, if the technologies allow me to input those power back to the grid when the grid is stressed, I can do 5 kWs each of the cars. And SMUD is going to have 300,000 of those cars by 2030. And so you can just imagine the resource that you can bring to the grid if you actually get them, customers, to allow them to partner with us, to use the cars when they need it, right? To charge the batteries when it's most cost effective, to discharge the batteries when it actually helps the grid and we pay them for it. This is just to be better for everybody. So I think this is really what, deploying technology is about, is really understanding when customers adopt new technologies or when you want them to adopt new technology like thermostats. We have about 60,000 customers on thermostat that can do pre-cooling. So when you start actually talking about technology, you always got to put yourself in a frame of mind that what does it do for the customer? What barriers do they have in adopting that technology? And how do you remove those barriers and make that technology super easy for them to use and super beneficial for them but also benefits. So that's why, we have incentives for heat pump water heaters. We have incentives for induction cooking, right? And then we have inductions for something simple like weatherization, thermostats. So for us, really is that, in fact, one of the things that when adopting new technology with customers, we will also really want them to be informed. Like, for example, we've been getting customer, calling us, wanting to put in two 19.2 kW chargers because they just bought two electric vehicles. Well, that is a huge amount of investment that the customer need to do, put in 200 amp panels on each side of their, garage, which we believe is not needed, right? So a lot of times we educate them and said, what, based on your usage consumption, based on the vehicle that you have, how would you actually, what's the best way for you to charge that vehicle? So we have a campaign now called Contact SMUD First. Call us before you even buy an electric vehicle. We offer you $750, dollars to help you offset the cost of installing a charger, but also offset the cost of putting in the circuit. But I think the key thing, Deepak, you talked about earlier, is really as more and more technology gets deployed onto the grid, onto the customer side, and being a part of our 2030 solution, we need the data, we need the insight, right? We need the vertical, AI data that like SEW has, another company has, that provide that deep, rich learning. And then you couple that with really how the grid is operated is really where I think the industry needs to go, so that you have a complete, vertical AI, from the industry perspective, deep learning from with all the data that electric utilities has, not just SMUD, but learn from all the other utilities in the US, in the globe, to create those deep insights, right? And deep learning, so that everyone can benefit from AI and everyone can benefit the efficiency the AI will bring, in the same time bringing the customer along every part of the journey.
Well, I cannot overemphasize what you just. I think you just put a solution in front of the world. We are facing today in the century. This is the first time the whole power grid is in the biggest stress mode.
Yes.
That we all have been part of the industry. The traditional solution is not about putting more generation and more solar and transmission, which is very, very important. At the same time, these assets, which is really giving the customer, irrespective of residential and commercial, if we don't connect with them the way you just said, the way they want to connect, irrespective of very deep channels, the type of the customer we talk about, is not only residential customer, the commercial customers, and the people who are managing, just like you said, not everybody have a single family home. There's a landlords, who are running the apartments and everything, how they get benefit to be the part of energy transformation. So there's nothing, I love that, because we talk about always our vertical AI focus on the people and the AI. AI cannot sit without people and community participation, and I think I love that your focus and the SMUD focus in the similar direction. I think this is going to be transforming our industry, and we call it as a non-wire solution. Definitely there's a wire solution will be there, and there's a non-wire, which is how the data and AI will help the grid 360 and customer 360, which is our favorite topic, for all the good reasons. So I will land.
Well, Deepak, I'm sincerely hoping, SEW, with your CX platform and your AI can really help companies like SMUD to really learn how to optimize, right? All the new resources, all the distributed energy resources that the customer is putting in, whether the utility acknowledge it or not. We have to actually use all the insights, right? We got to engage them at the very beginning, so that they're part of the solution. So how they're using all their DERs and what best fit them, and how does you put all those data together and create the insight and the controls that you need, so that you can optimize what they're putting in. So what was a stress to the grid now all of a sudden is a benefit, as I said like earlier, right, about electric vehicles. And I think that's why we're excited about SEW's venture into the e-mobility world, because if you think about all the things that's coming impacting the industry, the old way of looking at the grid no longer works, because the one-way power flow of the system, and we always build power plants, build transmission, distribution, and hook up to the customer, put transformers up, in your neighborhood, is no longer going to work as it was, because customers now are really, prosumers.
Yeah.
Because customer the first time in the grid development that not only are they a consumer, they're also a generator. And you absolutely need customer insight is, to optimize the millions of endpoints that they're going to put in. And how do you optimize and synchronize the control of all those in a way that's harmonized with the power grid, right? I think we talked about this before, most people do not know that the grid supply and demand is balanced every 4 seconds. Every 4 seconds, right? 2 seconds, the grid gets a signal, and then the automatic generation control move power up, power plants generation up, move it down, and then balance it real time. So you can imagine the complexity that it has, where now instead of having just made power plants and just, major transmission lines, now all of a sudden you have this distributed power model that the network now is distributed through millions of endpoints that you're trying to synchronize, optimize in a way that is reliable, safe, and most importantly, benefit the customers. So that's why I'm so excited about, the industry vertical AI and the platform and the data that you have, and how do you marry that with the data that the electric utilities have? Because we're the first one to put smart meters on. I mean, you remember, Deepak, right? Before the day of smart meters, it's hard for a customer to imagine that we don't even know you have power or not, unless 7% of the customer calls us. And now with smart meters, we know, right? We know how much energy you consume, every minute. From the data, we even know what kind of appliances you have at home. We know about your lifestyle. But now the next generation is coming through, right? Now you also have electric vehicles, you have batteries, you have rooftop solar, and you have heat pump water heaters. And so when you have all those coming on, the utility really need to think about, what does the grid of the future look like? And how do you move customer and educate them along the way? And when customers are putting in technology or technology that you want customer to put in, you have this dialogue, right? You have this relationship with them that they trust the technology that you're deploying or you're asking to deploy is actually beneficial to them, but it's also beneficial to their neighbors. But most importantly, is beneficial to the planet. Because, Deepak, I think I told you this story before, right? In my 42 years working in the company, the last 10 years, I would say specifically the last 5, is the only time my kids are ever interested in what dad is doing. And because, along companies like SEW, along with companies like the power industry, we're doing everything we can to tackle climate change, accelerate decarbonization of the economy. And I absolutely believe AI is really one of those critical building blocks that you need to bring those efficiency, new capability, new insight for us to do that. I know that's a long answer to your question, but I really felt that is so important that people understand that.
I'm grabbing as a student, for all the good reasons from you, because again, what you just said, I think, just in a nutshell, it's a true to a point. A lot of people maybe don't double click and understand. It was a one-way grid. So it was a one-to-many relationship, which is millions of customer. Now this become, which was like constant to the finite to infinite. Now it's become a infinite to infinite equation. Which is everybody, all of us are science students. We understand how complex that is. And on top of that, to ensure that it's affordable, it's reliable, it's available. And I want to double click, I think, again, for the lot of people know that AI doesn't run by itself. AI requires so much power. A data center is running on normal data versus the AI data models that recorded 8x to 12x more power. That means, to your point, the people who never used to think the energy and water is their life and they are really the most important commodity in their life. Now everybody realizing the fact even internet and AI cannot run without the power. And again, the burden is and the stress is on the great leaders like you. And I really, Paul, I always salute that, because I know that a life of our utilities executive workforce team is so important. I know that we talk about the healthcare industry, but the industry, the energy, the power, water, and gas industry is so much important in our life. And if the industry doesn't do what they do for long, and now again it's like biggest transformation happening, all of us will be in a big trouble, because if we don't have any power, we have nothing, we cannot operate at all. So thank you again, Paul. I think I really love this. I know that we're going to have a limited time, so I really want to ask, uh, as you already talked about it, just double clicking on, as you said, the we all talk about the people and AI. I know that we are doing together and with the industry globally, very focused, customer focused, workforce focused AI initiatives, across the board is happening in the smart. Beyond what we discussed, anything, any use case you feel, or any particular area in the customer focus AI, which you a use case, which you want to highlight to the audience.
Yeah, well, I think what it is that the reason that we partner with SEW, right, is that you know, it, AI is going to unlock a lot of customer insights that we never had before, right? And because of the deep machine learning, and because of the fact that now for the first time ever that you really can look at all the massive amount of data that the grid has, that how do you operate the grid and all the specific operating characters of the grid. And now with AI, you can now understand how the grid is being used by the customer at a very, very finite level. And this will give you the ability to reshape how customer use load in a way that actually benefits them, but also in a way that would benefit the grid's reliability, right? Which you just talked about. Which, is almost impossible. You think you can just simply build your way out of it because of the massive growth of AI and the massive growth, basically generative AI server farms. And also, the world is electrifying. So in fact, for SMUD, right, a third of our load coming, looking at 2040, is going to be from electrification. And so it's absolutely imperative for the company, right, any company, to really take advantage of getting customer data, as you said, the industry vertical AI, as quickly as possible, build your use cases, match that really with the grid data, and really create that holistic look from the customer 360 to the grid 360 to really lay out programs and services and incentives and the use cases that you need, not only supply the power that they need, but do it in a way that is still safe, that's still reliable and affordable. And so I think one thing that we talked a little bit about was how do you engage community in the workforce piece? So that may be another section, is that something that SMUD is very proud of, is that how we are engaging folks in disadvantaged communities, offering scholarships, training, so they can compete for all those clean energy jobs. Like, we're going to need lots of line workers, upgrading the systems. How do you work with partners, with nonprofit organizations, with the union, with the utilities, with the local jurisdictions, to really, really bring people into it, not just technology, but the human side of it.
Well, if you don't mind, I know that we are on the top of. Can you share that initiative, please? Because that the great initiative, the smart, and you had to bring,
Yeah.
the workforce, to train them. And I was very touched when you share with me. If you don't mind, if you can,
Yeah.
that would be really great.
Yeah,
People
absolutely. So Deepak, this is something that we're very, very proud of. We partner with International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBW, 1245 in Northern California, to said, okay, when you actually look at the workforce, right, the workforce of the future, and you're going to need a lot more line person. So how do you attract new candidates, right? How do you reach out to communities that traditionally never have access to be able to compete for those jobs? So we said, okay, one thing we can do is that we are going to pay them and to come to learn how to climb poles on the weekends. And we're going to pay them to learn how to take the test, the math test, and the reading comprehension test. And we did heavy recruitment from disadvantaged communities. And we told them this is a career, this is a job that pays $50 an hour while you're an apprentice. When you're done, you get paid 88,000, $80 an hour. So this is a job, it's a career. And the amount of money that you make, it could be life-changing, not just for them, but for generation. So we went out to the community, did heavy recruitment, and we brought the candidates in, about 900 candidates, and then we let our trainers pick 30 folks, from those cohorts, and 85% of those are people of color. Long story short, after they train them how to climb, and learn, take tests, after a month, we took a step back and said, now you have to compete, because we're public service, so we can't just give you a job. So you have to openly compete with all the other people that's going to be applying for those jobs. So happy to report, out of the 21 individuals that graduated from the program, 9 of those is going to be futures line workers for SMUD. 5 right now is already working in crews. 4 is going to come on in December, and it really warms the heart, because of the fact that one of the moms came in and with the son, learning about this program, and just listening to her said, "Oh my God, this is life changing, and I'm going to make sure my son is going to learn how to take the test, learn how to climb, and be able to compete, for this kind of chance of a lifetime. Because other than that, they will never be able to compete with folks that, that their uncle, their father, their grandfather, their friends, or, that taught them how to climb, or you go to climbing school, which is about $20,000. So things like this, I think, is so important for electric utilities or any organization to think about, when they're bringing those services to especially for community-owned organizations or not. They really need to think about what they can do to really help, the economic vitality of the community that they serve.
No, thank you, Paul. I think this is really where the people aspect, very deep people aspect, and in technology, which is we talk about the AI come to the picture. But my last quick one, I know that people really would like to know from you within this broader context. What is the lesson learned for the efforts involved in the community for your bigger sustainability goal? Because I know that you took 2030 as a really a big goal as a SMART, and you as a leader, just quick, what do you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, what I want to share is that communicate, 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 because people really need to hear you multiple times, and you really need to meet them where they're at and communicate in a way that they prefer to be communicated. So when we roll out, before we develop our 2030 clean energy vision, we spent 5 months in the community asking them, what do they want for electric utility? And we spent literally hundreds of hours talking to customers. And then when we actually developed our plan, we took it back out to the customer and we said, we hear this is what you want from electric company. And they say, this is how we plan to do it. It's very ambitious, right? Here's what we want to accomplish. Here are the goals. After we explained to those customers, all those, I don't know, maybe 30,000 community meetings, we had a 93% approval rating.
Wow.
So basically what it is, that key lessons learned for us is that if you're going to do any major undertaking, right, in the community or with your customers, engage them early, communicate the benefits, really hear their feedback about, are they really going to get those benefits or not? And then go back and develop a plan, and then go back and check with them to see what they like about it, what they don't like about it, be willing to modify, and then bring it back to them again, and then give them progress in a report along the way. So like, for example, for our zero carbon plan, right? It's very ambitious. So we have a community meetings, public meetings every 6 months to give them the progress, like how much renewable did we put in? Where are we at on a greenhouse gas reduction? Where are we now with our new technology deployment? So we give them a status update to tell them we're on track, we're not on track, here's the new things that we're bringing in. So keep them engaged along the way. To me, that's the biggest lessons learned, is that you can never communicate enough with your customers, and you need to engage them early and keep them informed along the way.
Thank you, Paul. I think thank you for, first of all your intelligence and wisdom and knowledge which you shared during this, smart talk, and I know that, if we have another 10 more hours, we'll be keep talking because all the great reason I'm always a great student of learning from you, a lot of great things which you share, and that's really all the audience definitely feel the same way. So we have, I know that we are over time, but we have a quick 2-3 minutes to take if any questions from audience is there in the chat, otherwise we will definitely going to be ending the session. I know, Paul, you're very busy and it's not easy for give this 40 minutes of your great time, to the global audience to learn from you, and what you're doing in the SMUD and what is SMUD leadership and the board and everybody is doing for the great for this our industry. Paridhi, any questions from the audience we can take right now, or we get?
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Paul. The only question that we are getting is your advice, where people want to hear from you and Paul that what advice do we have for utility leaders to embed AI into their operations? So if a couple of notes on the leadership, I think that is what people would want to hear as the end remarks.
Okay. So my quick advice is that, first of all, have an AI use policy for the company, making sure there's a governance piece, because obviously at a utility we have a lot of sensitive data that you don't want to go get into the web, but that everybody can see exactly what's happening. So there's a certain amount of care that you need to make sure that you have in guarding those data and we built those use cases. So that's why a lot of times when we're deploying AI, we're moving it behind into SMUD, so that we can actually have the benefit of generative AI, but not really have our sensitive data out, in the web. And then the other big piece is that before you start actually using AI and the use cases, always make sure you understand what the impact to the employee is, and making sure that you communicate early with them to making sure they understand what are you planning to do with the AI, and making sure that you have their buy-in or their input, and also making sure that you're working with the unions in terms of if there's, invariably when you're looking at AI and bringing efficiencies, into the system, you really need to make sure that people who are impacted by those is clearly communicated and understand why you're doing what you're doing, and then give them a chance for them to input, and making sure that you have policies and procedures in place that you can actually govern that.
Thank you, Paul. And I know that, Paridhi, we are on the top of the hours, so I will definitely thanks Paul again. And I'm looking forward to have another in-person and the digital session for myself and the bigger audience. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you so much, Deepak, for giving us a chance to share what SMUD is doing. And thank you, Deepak, for really what SEW is doing for the industry globally.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care.